The Forsaken Heir. Episode 76. That night, the whole Tokyo runaway group united unprecedentedly. In the past, they were fighting each other, even competing, antagonizing, and fighting each other while guarding a site. Now they all have become comrades in arms. Everyone held hands together and searched through the carpet, just to find the whereabouts of the mysterious man who abolished Taiki. However, the instruction they received was not to hack the man, but to report his whereabouts to the Takahashi family immediately. As long as the exact clue is found, 1 million will be given. The mobsters usually don't have many opportunities to make money. They either collect some protection fees on Red Light Street, or they are doing some chicken business, and their income is actually very low. In Japan, how can you be considered a successful mobster? In fact, it's very simple. It is enough to have a large displacement motorcycle. Because in the eyes of the rioters, a good motorcycle is simply the standard equipment for the successful rioters. It's like an ancient warrior has a good horse. However, most of the mobsters barely make ends meet, and simply cannot afford the cost of large displacement motorcycles. Therefore, they have to walk, or take buses or subways, to fight with others on the streets. As for why not to take a taxi, it is because the taxi fare in Japan is surprisingly expensive. The mobsters go out for a fight. Before they get to the place, the taxi fare may have been over 1,000, far exceeding their consumption ability. Because of this, they are desperate for money. 1 million, even if it is divided among several people or dozens of people, it is a very objective figure in the hands of individuals. Therefore, these rioters all took to the street with their own brains, holding their mobile phones, while playing the video of Ike being beaten, while looking for Charlie in the video. But they didn't dare to search with great fanfare, they only dared to search with their eyes quietly, because they knew that this man was incredibly powerful. If you see him, you must not hesitate, turn around and run, and report to the Takahashi family while running. That's it. At the same time, several ninjutsu masters enshrined by the Takahashi family also penetrated into the night wearing night clothes. They are extremely good at concealing body shape and breath, and they are very good at secretly searching and tracking. They are one of the few masters who can truly pass by without leaving marks. For top ninjutsu masters, it is completely possible for people to run in front and let top police dogs chasing behind. In a few steps, the police dogs will lose all clues. However, although they are good at hiding their whereabouts, when it comes to attacking power, they are still much worse than Chinese martial arts masters and internal masters. But then again, although their absolute strength may not be comparable to China's domestic masters, their overall combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. Because they are very good at using fatal blows, such as very good at using poisoned daggers, darts, and blow arrows. They like sneak attacks and give opponents a surprise nirvana. Therefore, if the average master is slightly less vigilant, it is really possible that they will follow their way, and maybe they will die when it is unclear. The task of these ninjutsu masters is to find Charlie and monitor him secretly. After the Sua family leaves Japan, or before Charlie leaves Japan, they will kill him. However, it was not easy for these ninjutsu masters to find him. Charlie left no clues at the scene. They could only check Charlie's whereabouts through the Tokyo monitoring system first. Late at night, the first batch of raw materials prepared by Qin Gang arrived in Tokyo. After the plane landed, it was unloaded and cleared immediately, and then shipped to the production line of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical at the fastest speed. Since Liang and Ichiro have been training at the Kobayashi Pharmaceutical Tokyo production base for a day, after the raw materials arrived at the base, they immediately entered the factory and started producing JX Vicin. In addition, Liang followed Charlie's request and applied to the Japanese Drug Administration to directly change the name of Kobayashi Vicin to JX Vicin. In this way, after successful trial production, JX Vicin can be put on the market directly in Japan and in the countries where their Vicin has covered it. During the trial production, Isaac asked his subordinates to drive him and come to Ichiro's house to pick Charlie to the scene. As soon as Charlie got on the car, Isaac said nervously, "Master, why were you choking with the young master of the Takahashi family?" Charlie frowned and asked, "How did you know?" Isaac hurriedly said, "Someone took a video of you teaching him and posted it on the internet. Now it's spread all over Japan. You are hot in Japan." Charlie frowned, "It has been spread throughout Japan within 2 hours?" Isaac helplessly, "Master, think about how fast the cross-talk between Lu Guang and Lu Ming was spread on our domestic short video platform. We have more than 1 billion people in China, and that cross-talk is not half. It's been all over the country within just a few hours." Charlie shrugged and said, "After all, our domestic internet industry is very powerful, but is the Japanese internet so developed?" Isaac sighed and said, "Master, even if Japan hasn't done much in the past few years, it is still an established developed country. Although their internet is not as developed as ours, the video entertainment sector is still good. Young people have nothing to do all day long, except for drinking, eating and shopping, just playing with mobile phones." As he said, he pointed to a few young boys walking side by side on the side of the road outside the window, and said, "Master, look at those little fraudulents. They just walked and looked at the phone. He didn't even take the road to watch. Several people in Tokyo get killed several times a day. I guess the 8 achievements of these people are watching your video." Charlie asked, "Do you have any Japanese short video app? Find out and let me see it." Isaac hurriedly took out his phone, found out the video and passed it to Charlie. "Look, Master." Charlie looked at the video and found that he was blurry in the video. This was a relief, and said, "Fortunately, the filming is not very clear, otherwise it will be troublesome if an acquaintance sees it. I still talked to my wife before I came. It was about coming to Japan to help people watch Feng Shui. If she sees this video, she must ask me what happened." Isaac said, "You can rest assured that this app is not compatible with ours in China, and Japanese short videos have no influence in our country." Charlie asked him, "Are you sure?" Isaac nodded, "Yes, on our domestic short video platform, there are only a small number of people who are doing content. Most of the rest are copied by a bunch of birdmen. One piece is hot, they can't wait for it. 10,000 people plagiarize, and there is either a bunch of ugly and poor stinky silks playing the rich second generation, or a bunch of scammers selling some broken fish and shrimp lives on the beach." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Regardless of these people, you call Stephen, this video of mine can't be circulated to China in any case." "Okay, Master." Under Liang's overall management, the production line of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals quickly produced the finished powder. Charlie came to Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals' production base in the suburbs of Tokyo and personally did a quality inspection. After confirming that the newly produced JX Vicin was no different from the JX Vicin produced in Oris Hill, he told Liang, "Liang, you must ensure that the Tokyo production line maintains the current speed, work overtime, keep people, don't shut down the machine, and quickly produce a large number of finished products." "Okay, master." Liang nodded immediately and asked, "By the way, master, when will our JX Vicin be officially launched in Japan?" Charlie said, "Don't worry about the official launch. We have to debug the production lines in Yokohama, Nagoya, and Osaka, and then accumulate a batch of finished products. At the same time, we must also prepare to advertise in Japan for consumers even in Asia. Everyone knows that Kobayashi's Vicin has been fully upgraded, the name has been changed to JX Vicin, and the prescription has been enhanced. The effect is at least 10 times the previous one. After the campaign is completed, sales will begin." Liang hurriedly said, "Okay, master, after I have sorted out the production lines, I will immediately start to promote things." Charlie snorted and said, "Since the trial production has been successful here, we can go to Yokohama tomorrow." Liang nodded and said, "Master, I will leave an engineer here to supervise. Let's leave early tomorrow morning." Charlie turned to Ichiro next to him and said, "Give you a chance to come back. You must take good care of it. Whether you can rest easy in your life next depends on how you perform in Japan. These production lines must be given to you. Manage it well, otherwise, I will cut off your dividends and let you drink northwest wind." Now, Ichiro has given 90% of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals shares to Charlie, and his remaining 10% will not play a decisive role in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. As the majority shareholder of Absolute Holdings, Charlie has all decision-making powers over the company. In other words, if Kobayashi Pharmaceutical makes 10 billion this year, Charlie wants to withdraw all the profits of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical and transfer it to JX Pharmaceutical. Ichiro has nothing to do. When the time comes, all profits will be taken away, and naturally he won't be able to pay him a dime in dividends, and he will have nothing to do. Therefore, his best choice now is to honestly work for Charlie. In this way, after Charlie asks Kobayashi Pharmaceutical to make money through the production of J-Sway powder, he will also generously release a portion of the profit dividend to him. Make sure that he can enjoy the rich life in Japan without worrying about money for the rest of his life. Ichiro has been imprisoned in the kennel for a long time in the dark, so he can be said to cherish his current life very much. Seeing Charlie said this, he hurriedly said, "Master, don't worry, Ichiro will be your dog in the future. Wherever you let me go, I will go, whatever you ask me to do, I will do it." Charlie nodded in satisfaction. Seeing that the on-site production is in order and the production quality is up to the standard, Charlie did not stay too much. He said to Isak and Liang, "Okay, let's go back to rest and go to Yokohama tomorrow." When leaving Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, Isak walked quickly ahead and helped Charlie open the car door. Charlie was about to get into the car, and when he first stepped one leg into the car, his figure suddenly stopped for a few seconds. Isak asked hurriedly, "Master, what's wrong?" Charlie frowned slightly, then said calmly, "It's okay, let's go." After speaking, he got into the car. Subsequently, the convoy drove away from the scene neatly. At this time, on the roof of a building opposite Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, 4 men in black were lying side by side. These 4 people were covered with black equipment from head to toe, black hats, black robes, black shoes, and even black gloves on their hands. Moreover, this kind of black equipment is very different from ordinary black cloth. The ordinary black cloth is only black, but the black on their bodies is completely super black, like a black hole. In fact, the reason why this black equipment has this effect is mainly because a layer of ultra-black material with extremely low light refractive index is attached to the outside. The scientific name of this super black material is carbon nanotubes, and its reflectivity to light is only 0.035%, which is 3.5/10,000, which is the darkest material that humans have made so far. The clothes are coated with this material. In a poorly lit environment, to the naked eye it is almost completely unclear. So for ninjas who are good at hiding, this high-tech material is simply their gospel. Wear such clothes. The ability to hide them has increased exponentially. At this moment, one of the men said, "Brother." The guy paused for a second before getting into the car. I looked through the binoculars. He seemed to be looking at us. Could we be discovered by him? The black-clothed man he called his senior said coldly, "You are just forteing. The straight-line distance between us and him is more than 800 meters, even beyond the effective range of most sniper rifles, and our location, altitude about 30 meters taller than that guy, how could he find us?" "That's right." The man on the far left sneered, "This kid is nothing more than a little fight. It is estimated that he is a Chinese master, but the internal power of their master is not supernatural. At most, he is most powerful. No, maybe you can find us even this far away." The person asked before, "Brother, the patriarch does not let us do anything to him now, what shall we do now?" The brother said, "My second son and I followed the convoy with a powered paraglider. You two drive, and on the radio follow my command." The other 3 agreed in unison. Immediately afterwards, the brother and the other person pulled a set of powered paragliders also painted with super black material from the roof. Afterwards, the 2 men started the engines of the paraglider, and after the dark paraglider was blown up by the wind, they took off directly from the roof and disappeared into the night. At this moment, Charlie in the car frowned. Just before getting into the car, he keenly felt that there were people lurking around. After all, he obtained the good fortune of the 9 profound heavenly scriptures, and occasionally got spiritual stones and auras in his body, and then used rejuvenation pills as snacks. Not to mention his strong strength, his perception ability is much stronger than ordinary people. Those 4 people were on the top of the building in the distance. Not only were they very hidden, they also controlled their breath very well, but they still didn't hide from Charlie. Charlie couldn't help thinking about it in his heart. First of all, these 4 people are hiding in the dark, they must be unkind, and 99% of them are coming to him. Secondly, these 4 people should all be relatively strong masters, not ordinary people. Again, these 4 people are very good at hiding their whereabouts. Therefore, based on the analysis of these 3 points, he felt that the 4 people should be the famous ninjutsu masters in Japan, that is, ninjas. And their master must be the Takahashi family who he just offended. At the same time, 2 dark silent paragliders are flying fast at an altitude of 200 meters. This silent paraglider uses a lithium battery to drive an electric engine, so there is no noise generated when the engine is running. Moreover, the fan blades of the paraglider have been carefully designed, and the air noise during high-speed operation is also very small. Using equipment to make up for the lack of strength is also the consistent development direction of Japanese ninjas. In the early years, Japanese ninjas not only had to practice ninjutsu hard, but they also had to be proficient in chemistry, because they needed to prepare a variety of strange equipment. On TV, the ancient ninja dropped a ball on the ground, and smoke was instantly ignited. After the smoke disappears, people also disappear. This is not a fictional scene, but a real existence in history. The round ball used by ancient ninjas is actually a mixture of smoke bombs and flash bombs made with the earth method. When the explosion occurs, the instantaneous strong light will make the opponent's vision temporarily blind, and the smoke is an excellent cover for retreat, so when the opponent's vision recovers and the smoke clears, the ninja will have run away long ago. Ninjas are like chameleons, very good at hiding their whereabouts according to their surroundings. When the target feels that they may have run away, they may hide on the beams of the house, or hide behind the target, or hide in the water, using the thin bamboo strips used to blow arrows to ensure breathing. Modern ninjas integrate scientific and technological achievements into ninjutsu, which gives them better concealment capabilities. For example, the super black materials on them, such as this paraglider, are their modern methods. At this time, the 2 people on the paraglider were communicating with each other through wireless intercom, and one of them said, "Brother, should we control the distance a little bit? So that the other party will not find us." "Impossible," the senior said very confidently, "our current height is 200 meters, and the straight line distance from them is almost 1 kilometer. At such a distance, they can't hear any sound at all, nor can they see anything. Clue: even if the person directly below us looks up, it is impossible to spot us." The headed ninja thought he had achieved perfection, but he did not expect that Charlie still noticed the 2 of them. After realizing that he was being observed at by the 2, Charlie couldn't help but smile sarcastically. It seems that these ninjas intend to bite him and not let go. I just don't know when they are going to do it on him. Not only did Charlie not worry about it, but faintly expecting it. When he was young, he watched some ninja-related movies and TV series and cartoons, and he was still a little interested in the profession of ninja. Therefore, he also wanted to compete head-on with Japanese ninjas to see what level of ninja Japan boasted for thousands of years. So he decided not to change any of his next plans, but always pay attention to the movement of these 4 ninjas to see what they want to do. 20 minutes later, the convoy stopped downstairs in the building of Ichiro's house. Charlie entered the building with everyone and came to the top floor. At this time, 2 ninjas riding powered paragliders were hovering in the night sky above the building, and the other 2 also drove downstairs. The leading ninja observed the surrounding environment and saw that the Amon Hotel was not far from this building, so he immediately ordered, "Second, we fell on the top of the Amon Hotel to watch each other, the third, the old fourth, look for a suitable place to hide downstairs and closely monitor the target first. In the intercom, the voice of 3 people immediately came, "Okay, brother." The 2 pitch-black paragliders slowly lowered their height, and finally landed on the roof of the Amon Hotel. After landing, the leading ninja immediately called Aiki's father Maki Takahashi. Maki Takahashi is in the hospital at this time. His eldest son, Aiki, is still undergoing surgery to implant a steel plate. After receiving the call from the other party, Takahashi Maki immediately asked, "Mr. Fujibayashi, how is the matter going?" The one called Mr. Fujibayashi is the leader of these 4 ninjas. His name is Tenglin Genji, and the Tenglin family is one of the 4 famous ninjutsu in Japan. In the development of Japanese ninjutsu, there was once a master of ninjutsu named Tengu. This Tengu was once a celebrity of the Tokugawa family, Japan's top family. In 1676, he wrote a book called Wanchuan Jihai, which combined the martial arts essence of famous Chinese and Japanese masters, and also referred to the famous Sun Tzu art of war and Tai Gong art of war in Chinese history. This book was later regarded as the Encyclopedia of Ninjas. Since its beginning, the Tenglin family has gradually become Japan's top ninjutsu family. And Tenglin Genji is the heir of this generation of Tenglin family. In Japan, ninjas have always been dependent on top-notch families to survive. There were a large number of ninjas who worked for them in large Japanese families and under the shoguns during the Warring States period. Although modern ninjas are becoming rarer and rarer, the true masters of ninjutsu are still attached to top big families. This is mainly because the ninja family lacks sufficient earning power, and modern society is becoming more and more secure and more emphasis on the rule of law, so they cannot make money by killing people and by arson, so they can only continue to adhere to the big family and become a master enshrined in a large family. Said to be worship, in fact, it is captive. Raising ninjas in captivity, giving them enough money, enough respect, and letting them work for themselves is also a common hobby of large Japanese families. Tenglin is a master of the Takahashi family. On the phone, he reported to Takahashi, "Mr. Takahashi, we have tracked down that guy's address, which is opposite to the Amon Hotel in the city center. Now I am closely monitoring him on the roof of the Amon Hotel. Waiting for your next instructions." "Good. Great." Maki Takahashi finally breathed a sigh of relief and gritted his teeth. "As long as you find him, I don't have to worry that my son's vengeance will not be avenged." After that, Takahashi Maki again ordered, "Mr. Fujibayashi, you must keep observing him. Wherever he goes, you will follow him and wait for my next step. But if he wants to leave Japan, just kill him." Tenglin said, "Mr. Takahashi, please rest assured, from now on, I will never let the target leave our control." Takahashi really knows, "Mr. Fujibayashi, when things are done, I will give you a generous reward, at least 5 million USD. Tenglin smiled and said, "Thank you Mr. Takahashi in advance." Takahashi really knew what he thought of, and hurriedly said, "By the way, Mr. Fujibayashi, the eldest son of the Sui family, Zhaifei, lives in the Amon Hotel. If possible, please help me monitor him. I want to know if he sees him at the hotel. Who did he call, who called him, and what he said?" Tenglin immediately said, "No problem, I will check it out now. At this moment, Amon Hotel Tokyo. This is one of the most luxurious hotels in Tokyo. Xiao and Haifei stayed in this hotel at this time. The two lived in the best room type in this hotel. The rooms are next to each other. Every room here has floor-to-ceiling windows on 3 sides. You can clearly see the night view of Tokyo, which is truly beautiful. Xiao had just taken a shower at this time. Her short hair was wet, so she simply combed all her hair to the back of her head. Looking stunning. After taking a shower, Xiao wiped her body clean, put on the silk nightgown brought, holding a glass of red wine, and came to the huge French window. She gently lay on the recliner in front of the French window, looking at the night view outside, lost in thought. In her mind, Charlie could not help but appear again. Thinking of that man's arrogant and pretentious look, Xiao was still angry. However, when she thought that everything that the man did was to protect an innocent girl, Xiao felt a little admiration for him unconsciously. In a foreign country, most people are more low-key and tolerant, hoping to avoid trouble as much as possible. In this case, even if you have been bullied, you may choose to endure a moment of calm and take a step back, let alone see others being bullied, and stand up for others. It can be seen from this point that the man is indeed very nice, and the 3 views are also very positive, but he is a bit crazy. Of course, the strength is so strong, there is nothing wrong with madness. Just thinking about it, she suddenly received a WeChat message on her mobile phone. After opening it, it was a link sent by her brother's Haifei, and then he sent another voice, Xiao, take a look, things tonight have caused trouble in Japan. Xiao opened the link and saw that Charlie's video has exceeded 10 million views on the Japanese network, and it is heading towards 20 million, and she can't help but be stunned. There are more than 120 million people in Japan, and more than 15% of Japanese people have watched this video. You know, Japan is still a highly aging society. If you remove the elderly, young children, and farmers who rarely go online in rural Japan, the views on this video is already terrifying. And this is just the beginning. The ghost knows how much it will be played tomorrow. Haifei sent a WeChat message at this time and told her, Xiao, Dad is going to have a video conference. Is it convenient for you now? Xiao gave a hum and said, wait for me for a minute. After speaking, she stood up, found a shawl, and draped it over her pink fragrant shoulder. Her nightgown is a low-cut and big V-neck sling. She is very comfortable in the room, but it is a bit exposed after all, so she has to cover it. After the video conference was connected, Xin asked in the video, Haifei, Xiao, have you two arrived at the hotel? Yes. Xiao and Haifei nodded in unison. Xin asked again, have you met briefly with the Takahashi family? Not yet. Xiao said, originally, we planned to touch the cooperation intention in the hotel's meeting room tonight, but unexpectedly, the Takahashi family had a small accident and Aiki suffered an injury. His father Takahashi should be in the hospital with him. Xin frowned and asked, what's the matter? Will it affect our cooperation with them? Xiao said, Aiki was beaten by a passerby, but this incident was just an incident and should not affect cooperation. That's good. Xin breathed a sigh of relief, and said, you must understand the foundations of these two companies and choose the best one. With that said, Xin continued with a cruel expression, you must find the strongest and most wolfish company for cooperation, whether it is the Takahashi family or the Ito family, as long as we choose one of them, then we will join forces with them and kill the other one. Xiao asked in surprise, Dad, if we choose any company to cooperate with, can we just focus on cooperation? There is no need to help them fight against another company, right? Xin said, I went to see your grandfather today, and he said that the Wade family seems to want to transport this cake by the ocean, so if we choose the Takahashi family, they will definitely choose the Ito family, and vice versa. Also the same. Xin paused, and then said, what your grandpa means is that if we choose the Takahashi family, then we will join hands with the Takahashi family to kill the Ito family. If we choose the Ito family, we will have to go with the Ito family. Join forces to kill the Takahashi family. In short, you can't leave the Wade family any chance. Zhai Fei asked in surprise, the Wade family also wants to get a share of the pie? Yes. Xin nodded and said, I guess they just wanted to follow us because they saw that we started to get involved in this industry. Zhai Fei said coldly, the Wade family is a little overwhelmed. Many domestic businesses haven't gotten the order, so they want to come to us to grab overseas markets? Xin smiled, this kind of thing is also normal. Big families, like big companies, have to do everything possible to steal other people's business. After that, Xin said, look at Tencent and Alibaba. One of them is doing a good job in social networking, but they desperately want to be an e-commerce company, an e-commerce company that is doing well, sharpened their heads, and wants to do social networking, and Ali has become Alipay. Tencent will do WeChat payment, Ali buys Hungry, Tencent will invest in Meituan takeaway, the two will always be like playing Go, you surround me, I surround you, we are the same as the Wade family, early Wade family when we started a new business, we also united many people to deal with them. Now that we have a new business, they can't just sit back and watch. Xiao smiled slightly and said, Dad, as far as I know, the Wade family's generation seems to be nothing special. Moreover, the Wade family seems to be getting quieter and quieter in recent years. I think they will be in a difficult situation for a while. Cut into the business of ocean transportation and port operations. Xin said, I have the same opinion as you on this matter, but your grandpa still hopes to be more cautious. Zhai Fei smiled and said, Dad, Grandpa is old and it is normal to be more conservative and cautious, but we don't need to worry about this. My view is the same as that of Xiao. Wade family should not catch up for a while, and the gap between them and us will definitely grow. Xin sighed, and said seriously, 40 years ago, your grandfather treated the Wade family in the same way. He always felt that the Wade family had no successors and would be lonely in a short time, but he never dreamed that there was a person named Changjing who was so wise and close to a demon, and brought Wade family up all at once. As he said, Xin's expression became extremely serious, and he asked the two, you must remember that a big family like ours is often the same as the country. In the long history of national development, many times it is to bet on the national fortune. Yes, just like when Germany attacked the Soviet Union, it was betting on national luck. If the bet wins, entire Eastern Europe belongs to Hitler. The Soviet Union's massive oil, natural gas, and iron ore resources sufficient to support Germany's rule of Europe, but if the bet lost, it fell into the quagmire of two-front combat and ultimately failed miserably. We are now focusing our efforts on ocean transportation. The Wade family wants to keep up, and they want to take a gamble. If they bet, there is still a chance of not being separated. If they don't bet, they will definitely be left far behind. So, even if the Wade family doesn't have a capable person to pull the flag, they will definitely come in and fight with us. And we, no matter whether the Wade family will catch up or not, we will cut their way first. Father Su's thinking was deeply influenced by his father. The old master's father fought a war back then. The battlefield is different from the business world. The battlefield is always desperate, so his business philosophy is also very simple. As long as he is his opponent, he must go to death. Choose one between the Ito family and the Takahashi family, and then kill the other. In the eyes of Mr. Su, it is like going to sea. There are two boats on the shore, but only one is needed. Then what should I do at this time? Ordinary people randomly choose one that is pleasing to the eye, and then board the ship and set sail. After detailed research, smart people choose a ship with the strongest overall performance. The clever ruthless man will choose the one with the strongest overall performance, and then scuttle the other before sailing. The reason for this is that if you simply choose one ship to ride, the remaining ship will become a huge hidden danger. Competitors may ride that ship to catch up, and finally may leave you behind. Therefore, if you choose one to ride and scuttle the other, you don't have to worry about your opponent being able to catch up with you. When the time comes, the opponent can only sigh on the beach, being left behind by you. This routine is simple and rude, but also very effective. Xin, and even Haifei and Xiu, were born in peaceful times. After living in peaceful times for too long, gradually, they lost the bloodiness of the older generation. However, when Xin said the father's decision, Xiu was the first to react. She said with some enlightenment, "Dad, Grandpa's strategy is wonderful. This will not only break the road of the Wade family, but also increase our influence in Japan. I was still worried before. The Takahashi family and the Ito family each has its own strengths and weaknesses. No matter which one you choose, it is a pity to give up the other. If you win over one of them and then work together to swallow the other, it would be perfect." Xin said, "Haifei and Xiu, you two must remember that the biggest enemy of the Su family in the past, present, and the next 10 years is the Wade family. Therefore, no matter what field we are involved in the future, we must also call the same principle. If the Wade family is also in this field, then the first priority is to kill the Wade family. If the Wade family has not entered this field yet, then we must do our best to prevent them from coming in. Although the anti-Wade alliance of the year is gone, we still have to beat the Wade family to death. Only in this way can we prevent the Wade family from taking the lead and forming an anti-Su alliance to deal with us. Understand?" The two, brother and sister, said at the same time, "Understand." Xin nodded and continued, "You have to think more, not only about your grandfather's strategic layout, but also about his tactical arrangements. The older generations said that business world is like battlefields. At that time, businesses were based on the degree of cruelty. Not lost to the battlefield. But the world has been at peace for decades since World War II. People have been at ease for too long, and their bloodliness has become weaker and weaker. The gap between the market and the battlefield has become larger and larger. Xiao said earnestly, "Dad, you are right. Brother and I will try to make up for blood and wolf nature." The Xin in the video nodded and said admiringly, "The future of the Sui family will ultimately belong to your generation. If the two of you can find the bloody nature of your ancestors, the Sui family will no longer has to worry about the future and hope for more glory. Let the Sui family stand on top of the world." This sentence has been lingering in Xiao and Zhai Fei's ears from this moment on. However, Zhai Fei didn't know, at this moment, on the wall outside his room, like a gecko, clinging to it was a dark figure. This figure was holding a special sound amplifier for spies, and recorded all the voices of the video conferences. And this figure is the ninjutsu master of the Takahashi family, Tenglin. Maki Takahashi learned that he happened to be at the Amon Hotel, so he asked him to monitor Zhai Fei. As Party A and Party B who are about to start negotiations on cooperation, if they can know the other party's cards and low prices in advance, it is absolutely no disadvantage. The most feared thing in business negotiations is to miss the cards. This is the same as the poker table. When you are playing gold with someone, if you can know the opponent's card, then you will never lose, even if the card you hold is not better than the opponent, you can get out early. If you can know your opponent's cards, then you will never be scammed by the opponent. If the opponent holds a small hand that pretends to be pretentious and delusional, you can also see through it at a glance. Many times, you obviously have the biggest card in the game, but you can't make any money. The reason is that you can't guess the opponent's whole cards and your psychological quality is not strong enough, so you are scared by the opponent's bluff and leave the game early. Therefore, Takahashi is very eager to see Su's whole cards. However, when Tenglin sent him the recording, he was scared into a cold sweat by the recording. It turns out that Su's whole card is not just a good card, it is a killing card. Especially the strategy of Mr. Su. If they choose Takahashi, they will kill ITO, if they choose ITO, they will kill Takahashi. Maki Takahashi felt a bit cold in his back, and sat down on a chair alone, slandering in his heart, that old master from the Sui family is like a old beast. Frankly speaking, I have been fighting with the ITO family for so many years, and I have never thought of destroying the other party. It is enough to step on him and beat him. But this old master Su is so cruel that he has to kill my family, or the ITO family, just to cut off his competitor's retreat. More importantly, I have no choice at all. If I am selected by the Sui family and the Sui family asked me to join them to kill the Takahashi family, can I refuse? If I refuse, he will turn his head and go to the ITO family. Kill me together. Thinking of this, Takahashi wiped his sweat while matching up his mind. In any case, he must reach cooperation with the Sui family. Never let the Sui family and the ITO family come together, otherwise, he will be responsible for himself and his fate. The main reason why Takahashi is so scared is mainly that the strength of the Takahashi family is still too far behind the Sui family. In recent years, the form of international economic development has almost been the rapid growth of China, while other countries have either stagnated or retreated without advancing. Japan is the one that does not advance or retreat. In recent years, Japan's GDP has not increased but declined. In 2011, it was still able to reach $6 trillion. As a result, when it bottomed out in 2018, it was only more than $4 trillion. With the receding of Japan's economic development, these families in Japan have also suffered heavy losses. The current strength has been left behind by China's top families. It is almost impossible to compete with China's top families. So, Takahashi has an idea in his heart. He decided that he would do everything possible to attack the Ito family, just like the Sui family attacked the Wade family. If the Sui family wants to scuttle the Wade family's boat, they must scuttle the Ito family's boat. When Maki Takahashi made a decision in his heart, the operation of his son Ike had also been completed. Seeing his son, who had his arms in cast, was pushed out of the operating room by the doctor, Takahashi's heart twitched. He wished to smash the body of who injured his son immediately. But thinking about it carefully, the most important thing now is to settle down the cooperation with the Sui family. Otherwise, if the Sui family cooperates with the Ito family, it will be yourself that is unlucky. So he didn't dare to cause any trouble at this time, so he could only choose to bear it temporarily. Fortunately, Tenglin has found the trace of the other party and is keeping a close eye on the other party. Therefore, he believes that this person has already pierced his wings and cannot escape. When will he die? It is a matter of time. Ike had a local anesthesia in his arms, so his brain consciousness was still clear. Seeing his father waiting outside the operating room, he was moved and aggrieved, and tears immediately shed. "Father, Ike is not filial, which is causing you trouble." Maki Takahashi waved his hand and sighed, "You can't be blamed for this matter. You can take a good rest these 2 days. When your condition stabilizes, I will take you home for a good rest." Ike nodded quickly. Children always realize the warmth of home after being injured outside. Now Ike just wants to go home and lick the wound. At this moment, someone rushed over and respectfully said to Takahashi, "Maki, Chairman, Takehiko sent flowers and fruit baskets to express condolences." Takehiko. When Maki Takahashi heard these 4 words, his brows instantly frowned. Immediately, he yelled coldly, "Humph! With my knowledge of Takehiko, he is sending flowers and fruit baskets now. He must have come to mock me and watch me as a joke. Last time his daughter was seriously injured after the game in China. When she returned from China and was treated in Tokyo, I also gave him flowers and a fruit basket to laugh at him. I didn't expect that he would find me back so soon." Ike, with his arms in plaster, said angrily, "Dad. Takehiko, that fraudulent, is a must-have guy himself. The flowers and fruit baskets you sent to the hospital last time were all said to have been thrown into a rubbish can. This time we do exactly what he did, showing that he had deliberately slapped my face. This time I lost such a big face, don't know how this fraudulent will humiliate me in the future." Maki Takahashi smiled awkwardly and comforted, "Son, you don't have to be so angry. Maybe Takehiko doesn't mean anything else, just want to express condolences?" Ike asked him back, "Dad, do you believe this? His daughter was injured. What kind of mentality did you send flowers and fruit baskets? Isn't it for mocking and watching a good show?" Maki Takahashi sneered, "You are right, I was indeed trying to mock him." Aiki said with a sad face, "The video of Nanako's injury was spread all over Japan, but the people respect her and loved her very much. Numerous fans are still launching activities to protect her and pray for her online. But I was injured this time, and all the country is laughing at me. I am embarrassed this time." With that, Aiki couldn't think about it, and cried uncontrollably. It's no wonder that he is too fragile. After all, he was a Japanese national man before, and countless women are crazy about him and call him their crush on the internet. Unexpectedly, in a blink of an eye, he would be beaten to death in front of the people of the whole country. Through this incident it can be said that he has lost face for a lifetime. Moreover, it is almost impossible to get the face back again. Even if he really killed Charlie, it was useless. After all, the horror of his beating was already well known to the Japanese, and it was deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Maki Takahashi's expression was also ugly, and when he was thinking about how to comfort his son, his cell phone rang suddenly. Maki Takahashi took out his cell phone and saw that it was an unfamiliar number, so he pressed it to answer. Immediately afterwards, Takehako's voice came over the phone. "Oh, Brother Takahashi, I heard that Lord Aiki was beaten in Tokyo today?" At first glance, Takehako's voice seemed to be somewhat concerned, but anyone with a little brain could hear it. This voice was simply sarcasm. Takahashi Maki said with a black face, "Ito, I remember I saved your phone number, why? You changed it?" "No." Ito said with a smile, "My mobile phone number is still the same as before. I am using my assistant's mobile phone. I am afraid to call you with my own mobile phone. You see my name, you will never pick it, ha ha ha." Maki Takahashi's expression went dark immediately. Takehiko was right. If he knew it was his call, he would not answer if he died. Unexpectedly, this dog was so damaged, so he changed his mobile phone number and called, just to mock him on the phone? Seeing that Takahashi really didn't speak, Takehiko immediately smiled and said, "Oh, Takahashi, why don't you speak anymore? Do you feel that your son is so humiliated at the door of the house that he really is a bit embarrassed?" Takahashi was a little bit intolerable, and asked, "Ito, what's the matter with you? If it's okay, I'm going to hang, don't?" Ito said with a smile, "Takahashi, I called, mainly because you and your son felt worthless. You see, he was also injured. When my daughter was injured, all of Japan was there to comfort her and encourage her, but after your son is injured, all Japan laughed at him. Netizens also really damned him. How can you make such a difference, right?" Takahashi gritted his teeth angrily, and said coldly, "Takehiko, how far are you from me? Don't let me see you again." When he heard Takahashi's swearing, he smiled a little, and said happily, "Takahashi, there is an idiom in China to describe you now. It is perfect. Do you know what it is?" Maki Takahashi scolded, "I don't want to know, you go to hell." After speaking, Maki Takahashi hung up the phone. However, not long after the call was hung up, he received a message on his cell phone. The content of the message is, "Brother Takahashi, don't blame the brother for not reminding you, you really have to change your temper in the future, otherwise, you will easily suffer the loss your son just suffered. Ike is young, he has broken 2 arms, it is nothing, but if you are older, if you break both arms, you may not be able to recover in your life. Seeing this, Takahashi was really furious. At this time, the phone received another text message. It was sent by Takehiko Ito? Oh, yes, the Chinese idiom used to describe you can't be more appropriate is, T jumps over the wall. Takahashi was so angry that he had nowhere to vent. He slammed the phone to the ground and fell to pieces. He cursed hysterically, Ito Yuahiko, you fraudulent. You really know that Takahashi will not avenge this revenge. At this moment, in Takahashi's heart, for the first time, he was murderous against Takehiko. For so many years, Takahashi Maki and Takehiko have been fighting over and under. It can be said that over the years, the two have regarded each other as biggest competitors. However, Takahashi and Takehiko are only in their 50s this year. They were both born in the most desolate and least self-confident years in post-war Japan, and they have been growing up peacefully. Therefore, they are not in the past blood and wolf nature of the older generation. Therefore, the two sides have been fighting for so many years, and they are only competing in the commercial field. No one has ever thought about killing the other party to death. This is like the boss of Alibaba and the boss of Tencent. Although they compete fiercely in different fields all day long, everyone still abides by laws and regulations very much. Even if they are upset with each other in their hearts, the minimum politeness and rules can be guaranteed by everyone. This is the phrase often said on the internet, he is grinning on his face, and I am in my heart. However, after eavesdropping on the video conference of Sue's family, Maki Takahashi was shocked, but also felt the vigilance of Daigo's enlightenment. At that moment, his whole person suddenly opened. Now he doesn't want to use the previous law-abiding model to compete with Takehiko. He now hopes that Takehiko will disappear from this world. To be more precise, he hopes that the entire Ito family will disappear from this world. In that way, the Takahashi family would have no obstacles or stumbling blocks in Japan. In Takahashi's mind, a death list has been placed. The first on this list of deaths is Takehiko Ito, the second place was Charlie, who has abolished his son's arms. He thought it was easy to kill Charlie, but it was difficult to kill Takehiko. Because Charlie is just a martial arts master from China, and has been locked by the ninjutsu master sent by him, he can kill him at any time. However, it is not so easy to kill Takehiko. After all, the Ito family has also been cultivating in Japan for many years, and the strength is comparable to that of the Takahashi family. They also have complete security personnel at ordinary times. More importantly, he has a high social status in Japan. Want to kill him? Never directly use force, otherwise it is very likely to cause trouble for himself. Therefore, the best solution is to join forces with a more powerful family to continuously suppress the strength of the Ito family, first knock him out of the position of the top family in Japan, and when he becomes a second-rate or third-rate family, everyone will treat his life and death. He doesn't care so much, and his overall strength will drop sharply. It is easy to take his life at that time. Therefore, if you want to kill Takehiko, you must join forces with the Sua family. In the final analysis, this cooperation with the Sua family, in his view, can only succeed and not fail. Tenglin and his 3 junior brothers lurked all night in their respective locations. This night, the 4 of them took 2-by-2 shifts, with another person watching every 4 hours to ensure that all 4 of them could get a certain rest. They thought everything they did was perfect, but they didn't know that everything was under Charlie's control. The reason why Charlie didn't do any performance was mainly that he wanted to make plans first, and at the same time, he didn't try to get rid of them. He doesn't want to do anything to these ninjas in Tokyo, mainly because he will go to several cities next. If the Takahashi family's ninjas are killed now, then the Takahashi family will definitely stick to him like dogskin plasters. Will bring a lot of inconvenience and trouble to him. Instead of this, it's better to let these 4 ninjas follow him all the time, and then look for opportunities to defeat them one by one. 8 o'clock in the morning. Charlie got up to wash, and after breakfast, Isaac's motorcade was ready downstairs. Paul's work has ended, so Charlie arranged for him to return to Oris Hill first, so as not to delay other work in his law firm. After the convoy sent Paul away, carrying Charlie, Orville, Liang, Isaac, Ichiro and others, left Tokyo directly for Yokohama. Tenglin and his younger brother followed along in 2 commercial vehicles. Originally thought that Charlie was just coming to the airport to see Paul off, but unexpectedly, the convoy did not return to downtown Tokyo, but went directly to Yokohama. So he immediately called Maki Takahashi and reported Charlie's departure from Tokyo. Maki Takahashi instructed him to continue to follow, not to act rashly for now. At the same time, Zhaifei and Zaiyu had a formal meeting with Maki Takahashi. They met in the property owned by the Takahashi family in Ginza, Tokyo, and Maki Takahashi enthusiastically invited the 2 to sit in his office. Afterwards, he said very religiously, "I wanted to have a simple exchange with the 2 yesterday, but I didn't expect the accident happened to the boy, so I neglected the 2, and please forgive me." As the eldest son of the Sua family, Zhaifei took the initiative to smile and said, "Mr. Takahashi is too polite. Don't know what happened to young master's injury?" Maki Takahashi sighed and said, "He received surgery on his arms and is also put in a cast. It may take some time to recover." Zhaifei nodded lightly, and said politely, "It's a pity that Ike encountered such a thing. If Mr. Takahashi needs our Sua family's help, please don't hesitate, we will definitely go all out." Although Takahashi really knew that Zhaifei was only being polite to him, he still said gratefully, "Thank you, Mr. Sua, for your concern." Zhaifei smiled and said, "Mr. Takahashi does not have to be so polite. If our 2 can finally reach a cooperation, then we are each other's strategic partners. Our family attaches great importance to strategic partners, and I communicated with my father last night. On the phone, he is also very concerned about Ike's body, and he has repeatedly asked you whether it is useful to Sue's family. If the Japanese orthopedic doctor is not good enough, he can send several orthopedic experts from East Cliff." Maki Takahashi said flatteredly, "That's really thank you, Mr. Su. If I have this need, I will speak to you at that time." After talking, Takahashi sighed. The Sua family's sincere attitude towards its partners makes the Sua family admire, and at the same time more fascinated. If there is a chance to reach a strategic cooperation with the Sua family, the Takahashi family will definitely go all out and never disappoint Sue's expectations. Zhaifei nodded lightly and smiled, "That's good. In that case, let's talk about the details of cooperation next." Takahashi Maki suddenly said with a cold face at this time, "Mr. Su, Miss Su, before we start talking, I want to give our cooperation a temporary precondition." Zaya frowned, "Mr. Takahashi, temporarily increase the conditions, some are not suitable, right?" Takahashi said sincerely, "Miss Su, the condition is not to raise the price from the Sua family, but to ask the Sua family to agree to me and cooperate with us to help completely eradicate the Ito family." Zaya frowned as soon as Takahashi's words were spoken. She couldn't help but wonder, yesterday my dad just said in a video conference that he would unite with one of them and kill the other. Why did Takahashi take the initiative to join us to kill the Ito family? Isn't it a coincidence? Is it true that Takahashi eavesdropped on the video conference of the family of three last night? Zaya felt that her speculation was not impossible. She thought to herself, although the bodyguards who accompanied her had been tested when she checked into the hotel yesterday and confirmed that there were no bugs and cameras in the room, this is after all in Tokyo, in the sight of Maki Takahashi. If he wants to find a way, it should not be difficult to eavesdrop on me and my brother. Zhaifei also had some surprises and doubted whether it was tapped by Takahashi. However, because Takahashi Maki was right in front of him, Zhaifei couldn't communicate with his sister, so he winked at her. Zaya nodded quietly, and then asked Maki Takahashi with a calm expression, "Mr. Takahashi, why are you completely eradicating the Ito family?" Takahashi said furiously, "That Takehiko has been working against me. If it's just normal business competition, it doesn't matter, but he has risen to the level of personality insult to me and my family." With that said, Takahashi Maki told the story of Takehiko Ito sending flowers and fruit baskets yesterday, and calling to mock him. After speaking out of righteous indignation, he still cursed in annoyance, "This Takehiko, joking with my son, and ridiculing us all, is too much. So I made up my mind when I was in the hospital yesterday. There is him without me, or there is me without him." Takahashi is not stupid. He knows that if he rashly offered to join forces with the Sua family to destroy the Ito family, the Sua family would doubt whether they were being monitored. Therefore, when he mentioned Takehiko, he deliberately exaggerated his words, and the whole person was extremely angry. The whole performance can be said to have reached the acting skills of a powerful actor. What he thought was that if the Sua family really believed his words, then instead of suspecting that they were eavesdropped on, they would feel more like their natural allies. In this way, he will definitely become the best candidate for cooperation in the eyes of the Sua family. Zaya was indeed relieved when she heard this. Obviously, she did believe what Takahashi said. Because all this sounds so natural. Maki Takahashi's son was injured, and at the same time he became a laughing stock. This in itself already made him very irritated. At this time, Takehiko came to add fuel to the fire, teased him, and irritated him. Thinking of this, she smiled slightly and said to Takahashi Maki, "Mr. Takahashi, let's talk about cooperation first. As for the matter you just said, if the cooperation itself is okay and everyone can reach an agreement, this matter can also be discussed." Maki Takahashi immediately said excitedly, "That's really great. Don't worry, Miss Su, I have shown 200% sincerity this time. I believe the Takahashi family must be the best choice for the Sua family. When Maki Takahashi had detailed negotiations with Haifei and Zyu, Charlie and his party had already arrived in Yokohama and went straight to Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals production base in Yokohama. Qin Gang's medicinal materials had also been delivered 2 hours ago. Therefore, Ichiro and Liang began to organize workers at the Yokohama production base to conduct trial production of JX Vicin. The trial production went very smoothly. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the first batch of qualified J-Sway powder was produced in batches from the assembly line. After that, Charlie and his party immediately drove to Nagoya, the most important city in central Japan. When they arrived in Nagoya, it was late. Isaac had already booked the best hotels in Nagoya. Charlie could also detect that the 4 ninjas who had been following him had followed him all the way to this hotel. After Charlie and others checked in, Tenglin, headed by the 4 ninjas, also brought the other 3 to the front desk of the hotel. They booked 2 rooms on the same floor as Charlie. Moreover, they are very clever to book 4 different rooms. These 4 areas are next to 2 elevators, and the escape stairs at both ends. Japan is a country prone to earthquakes, so when designing their buildings, they fully considered the issue of escape. A building with 2 sets of escape stairs is really rare in other places. The reason why they want to arrange the room in this way is that they can firmly control Charlie's every move, so that it can also facilitate their monitoring. As for why not live directly around Charlie, it was mainly because the rooms around Charlie were all covered by Isaac's men. Not long after Charlie rested in the room, he noticed that the breath of the 4 people was getting closer, and after knowing that they were also living on this floor, he had a plan in his heart. Tonight, he wants to try the depth of these Japanese ninjas first. At dinner, Isaac's men, Jones Luo, and everyone ate the most distinctive local eel rice at the most famous restaurant in Nagoya. After dinner, Orville proposed to go to Nagoya's wrong business district together. Charlie deliberately said, "You go, I want to walk around alone." Orville hurriedly said, "Master, we are not familiar with this place in life. You should not act alone, or say where you want to go, we will accompany you." Isaac nodded again and again, "Yeah, Master, let's stay with you." Charlie waved his hand and said with a smile, "No one in Nagoya knows me, what are you worried about? Besides, I think I still have some ability to protect myself, so you don't have to worry about it." When Isaac heard this, he knew that Charlie would not let everyone follow him, so he respectfully said, "Master, don't go too far. If you have any needs, remember to call us." Charlie nodded, "Okay, you play yours." After speaking, he walked away alone. At this time, in a car across the street, Tenglin's Jr. asked him, "Brother, do you want to follow him?" Tenglin sneered and said, "He has already checked in at the hotel, and he will definitely go back. He won't run away." Another junior asked, "Brother, do you mean we don't need to follow?" Tenglin said, "The follower still needs to follow. I promised Mr. Takahashi not to let him leave the control area, so I will let the 4th child follow him. Let's quickly put a bug in their room." A man in his 30s sitting in the back row immediately said, "Okay brother, I will follow him." Tenglin gave a hum, and said, "You can just follow him far away, but don't lose him. If there is any abnormality, call in time, understand? Understood, brother. The reason why Charlie wanted to leave Isaac and Mr. Orville aside was to find a chance to act alone, so as to try to track these ninjas, how many of them there are. Moreover, he knew very well in his heart that since the other party had followed him to the hotel, he would definitely think that no matter where he went now, he would definitely return to the hotel. Therefore, there is a high probability that they will not follow him with 4 people. It's not that Charlie was afraid of the other party's group, but he felt that there were only 4 people who followed all the way from Tokyo. If they were all alone, Maki Takahashi might have no one available. If you solve all your opponents in one go, the rest of your time in Japan will be boring. Therefore, Charlie hopes to give them a breakdown one by one. Only by breaking through them one by one can the opponent's fears continue to increase, and the fears of Takahashi Maki can be continuously increased. When leaving the hotel, Charlie had already noticed that the other party only sent one person to follow him in secret this time. So, he planned to take this single guy first. The guy who was alone, named Tenglin Qingtian, was a distant relative of the Tenglin family. He learned ninjutsu from Tenglin Zheng's father when he was young, so he was commensurate with Tenglin Zheng's brother. Among the 4 brothers of Tenglin Zheng, although Tenglin Qingtian's strength is not the strongest, but his talent is extremely high, especially very good at concealment and tracking. He debuted for many years and has never been escaped by the other no matter who is being tracked. Tenglin Qingtian followed Charlie all the way, and followed him away from the downtown area and the residential area with a high density of living. The distance from Charlie was always between 100 and 200 meters. His figure is very hidden, and his aura is very well controlled. People with less strength may not notice that he has been eyeing. After leaving the city, Charlie went straight to a park by the river. As it was already night, the weather was cold, and it was in the suburbs, the park was empty. Seeing that Charlie entered the park, he followed him all the way into the park. But what made him dream of was that Charlie, who had been under his nose, suddenly disappeared after entering the park. As a master of ninjutsu all year round, Tenglin Qingtian's senses of hearing, sight, smell, and touch are much more sensitive than ordinary people. He can hear sounds that ordinary people can't hear, he can also see things that ordinary people can't see. His most powerful thing is that he is beyond ordinary hearing. Ninja tracking in the middle of the night relies on hearing the most. Tenglin Qingtian can hear the sound of crickets crawling in the grass and the movement of ants crawling out of the cave within a radius of 200 to 300 meters. Because of his good hearing, he can hear everyone's breathing and heartbeat within a radius of 500 meters. When people are hiding, they can stay still or speak, but breathing and heartbeat cannot be avoided anyway. Therefore, it is impossible for ordinary people to escape the surveillance of Tenglin Qingtian. However, Charlie, who was still within his sight and hearing range, suddenly disappeared without a trace, no footsteps, no breathing, and no heartbeat. It's not difficult to hold your breath for a short time, but you can't make your heart stop beating, right? This is obviously beyond human control. This made Tenglin Qingtian suddenly nervous. Because he realized that this thing is unusual. He immediately suppressed his breath to the extreme with extreme vigilance, and then remained motionless, carefully listening to the surrounding sounds. At the same time, he has pulled out 2 dark shurikens from his arms. The shuriken is one of the most commonly used weapons by Japanese ninjas. The length of this weapon is about 15 centimeters. It has symmetrical blades on both sides and a short grip, which looks like a dagger. However, the use of this shuriken is quite different from that of a dagger. The use of daggers is mostly piercing and cutting, but the use of shuriken is throwing. In martial arts, ninjutsu is sinister and vicious. Ninjas don't like to compete face-to-face with their opponents. They like to hurt people with dark arrows. It's best if the opponent doesn't find them until death. This is the ultimate ninja pursuit. They like to use weapons like shurikens, darts, and blow arrows, and they will smear highly toxic substances on the sharp blades, so as to ensure that as long as the opponent is broken by the sharp blade, they will be over. 1 minute later, Tenglin Qingtian still did not catch any movement of Charlie. His hearing almost covers the entire park, and he can also conclude that there is only him alive in this park. Tenglin Qingtian couldn't help but wonder, where did the man go? Did he escape or hide? If he escaped, how did he escape in an instant? Could he fail to transfer in an instant? Or did he not pay attention just now and be distracted by him? If it is hidden, how can he not move at all for a minute? It is understandable to control his breathing, but it is a bit unrealistic to control his heartbeat. If it is the former, most of the responsibility lies with me, and I can't find the other party, so I should go back and report the penalty and pay more attention next time. But if it is the latter, then the strength of this person is simply unfathomable. Thinking of this, a cold sweat broke out behind him. As a result, Tenglin Qingtian gripped the shuriken tighter, and slowly turned his body silently under his feet, carefully staring at the surroundings, for fear that the other party would suddenly appear. After watching 2 laps, he was a little relieved to make sure that there were no ghosts around. When he was about to leave quickly, he suddenly felt that someone patted his left shoulder lightly. At this moment, his whole body was frightened and his hair exploded, and the whole person turned around like crazy, and the 2 poisoned shurikens were thrown out behind him with a scream. However, the sword in the 2 hands did not hit any target. After flying dozens of meters away, it was firmly nailed to the wall. People? Tenglin Qingtian was shocked, but he didn't dare to delay his hands. As soon as he stretched out his hand, he took out 2 swords from the cowhide cover on his waist. Tenglin Qingtian, holding a shuriken, shouted with fear, "Who is it? Get out of for me!" At this time, he felt that his right shoulder was tapped twice. At this moment, Tenglin Qingtian almost freaked out. He took a violent step forward when he was crazy, and at the same time turned his head angrily, and threw the sword in both hands again. However, this time it was still empty. Behind him, he couldn't even see a ghost. Tenglin Qingtian was shocked, and hurriedly took out the last 2 swords in his hands. At this time, he heard a man behind him sneered, "It seems that ninjas are nothing more than this. It's really disappointing." Hearing this voice, Tenglin Qingtian's liver and gallbladder were cracked. This really confirmed the scariest assumption in his heart. That man has been here all the time and never left. And from the beginning to the end, he didn't hear this person's breathing or heartbeat. How did he do it? Moreover, he slapped his shoulder twice, which proved that he was close to his body at least twice, but he didn't even hear anything, not even his footsteps. At this moment, he subconsciously wanted to turn around and throw out the shuriken, but he was a little worried deep in his heart. After all, he only has 6 swords in his hand. 4 of them have been thrown out just now, and now the 2 in his hand are the last 2. What if these 2 are also on the empty target? The opponent is right in front of him, and he will never give himself a chance to dig out other weapons. In other words, the sword in these 2 hands is his last chance. If you use it rashly, you may put yourself in a situation where you can never recover. Tenglin Qingtian didn't dare to act rashly, so he could only swallow his saliva nervously, and said with some humility, "You gentlemen, you may have misunderstood. I am not a ninja, just a shuriken fan." "Oh?" Charlie smiled playfully and asked him, "You are not a ninja, so what are you doing with me?" Tenglin Qingtian hurriedly said, "I didn't follow you, I just finished my dinner at night, come here to practice my shuriken." Charlie sneered and said, "Do you think I will believe such a bad reason?" Tenglin Qingtian said innocently, I'm telling the truth." Charlie sneered, "If I guessed correctly, you should be a member of the Takahashi family? I now give you a chance to survive and tell me everything exactly. If what you say satisfies me, then I can consider letting you go." Hearing this, Tenglin Qingtian knew in his heart that denying was no longer useful, and blindly denying it was likely to be a disaster. Therefore, he can only cower and say, "Sir, I say everything. I was indeed sent by the Takahashi family, and they asked me to follow you all the way from Tokyo to here." Charlie asked again, "What is the plan of the Takahashi family? Do they want you to follow me like this?" Tenglin Qingtian hurriedly said, "No, Mr. Takahashi Maki meant that we should follow you first, and wait for his instructions. He is now negotiating cooperation with a big family from China, so he doesn't want to be out of the question, but wants to wait until after the cooperation is finished." "Let us kill you then." Charlie nodded and asked, "What is the origin of you 4 ninjas?" Tenglin Qingtian said truthfully, "We are all members of the Tenglin family, and the Tenglin family is one of the major ninjutsu families in Japan." Charlie asked him with interest, "Since your family is a relatively large ninjutsu family in Japan, why should you follow the Takahashi family as running dogs?" Tenglin Qingtian hurriedly said, Actually, the main reason is that in the post-war years, ninjas and samurai have become less and less important. At the same time, the underworld is also rapidly rising, and they are equipped with very powerful heat weapon, so our living space is even smaller. In addition to being good at ninjutsu, the entire family has no other skills. It is not good at doing business and macheting money, so it can only survive by attaching to the big family." Speaking of this, Tenglin Qingtian begged, "Sir, what I told you is all the truth, can you let me go?" Charlie smiled and said, "Don't worry, I still have questions to ask, you can leave after answering all of my questions." Tenglin Qingtian's mind turned slightly, and he asked, "Sir, can I turn around and talk? I'm so nervous with my back facing you like this." Charlie said calmly, "Yes, turn around." Tenglin Qingtian turned around slowly, and when he turned around, the shuriken in his hand had not been put down. At the same time, his toes slid gently on the ground, seemingly nothing unusual, but Charlie still noticed the other's intentions. Tenglin Qingtian's shoes are special ninja shoes, which are not only light and quiet, but more importantly, they hide a short-edged dagger in the sole. The short-edged switch is a slider with a special pattern on the sole. Normal walking and running will not trigger the shoe sole slider to eject the short blade. Only after the slider completes the S-shaped movement, will the short blade eject mechanism be triggered. This kind of weapon is very common in the era of cold weapons. Even in China 100 years ago, it was also a necessary hidden weapon for many people to walk the rivers and lakes. In many film and television works, this hidden weapon has also been shown, but the principle is not revealed. In fact, this S-shaped slider is equivalent to the simplest mechanical code. Others don't know how to trigger it, but the user himself knows it. Obviously, you can be surprised at any time. However, as the thermal weapon became more and more mature, this weapon gradually withdrew from the stage of history. But unexpectedly, Japanese ninjas are still in use. The moment he moved the sole of his shoe, he realized that this guy was preparing to unlock the short blade in the ninja shoe. Even, his toes have completed 80% of the entire S-shape, as long as they move 1 centimeter in the correct direction at the end, the short blade hidden in the sole will suddenly pierce from the toe. At this time, Tenglin Qingtian has made up his mind. Once he finds the right opportunity, he first uses the sword in his 2 hands to attract the other's attention. When Charlie's all attention is on the shuriken, he immediately uses the ninja shoes. The short blade launched an attack. At that time, the upper and lower sides and the 4 sharp blades will come out. As long as one of them stabs Charlie, Charlie will undoubtedly die. Although he explained that he should not kill him for the time being, he felt that Charlie had already threatened his life, and he did not care about Gen Z's instructions. The most important thing was to kill Charlie first. After macheing up his mind, he began to attract Charlie's attention and said, "Sir, if you have any questions, just ask, I will answer truthfully." Charlie nodded and asked, "Are you 4 of you the strongest under Maki Takahashi?" "Yes." Charlie frowned, and said with a bit of contempt, "I don't think the 4 of you are really good at it. Isn't your skill just throwing knives? And you're dying. If you have this skill, in China, no one looks at performing arts on the streets, and you can't keep up with the heat if you eat SHT." Feeling humiliated, Tenglin Qingtian blurted out, "Nonsense. My shuriken has always been accurate. Within 100 meters, the wings of flying flies can be cut off." Charlie smiled and said, "So powerful?" Tenglin Qingtian said sternly, "Of course. If you don't believe me, I can show you something." Charlie smiled contemptuously, "Come on, start your performance." Tenglin Qingtian gritted his teeth, realizing that the opportunity is coming, and sneered, "Okay. Then you are optimistic." After that, both hands suddenly shook, and the sword in both hands instantly pierced the air and dashed towards Charlie. Immediately afterwards, he rubbed his feet on the ground slightly, and the 2 short blades of his toes popped out instantly. Tenglin Qingtian didn't dare to delay half a minute, and immediately raised his foot and kicked Charlie. Charlie had already guarded his hand, a trace of contempt flashed between his brows. Immediately afterwards, he did not move. He just snapped 2 fingers with both hands, and then separated 2 invisible vigor, and slightly pushed the 2 shurikens that came straight to his door. Immediately afterwards, the sword in the 2 hands was like a Chinese character 8, swiping and flicking it, just passing Charlie. Tenglin Qingtian was so scared that his face was pale by this strange scene. At this time, he could only hope for the short blade of his toes. A strong wind blew, and his feet kicked in front of Charlie. Charlie's expression was indifferent, and he quickly attacked with one hand, and grabbed his ankle tightly. Tenglin Qingtian looked at the short blade of the toe, and was only a few strands away from Charlie, but Charlie's hand was too strong, and he was completely unable to enter even half a minute. At this time, Charlie sneered and said contemptuously, "Since you like to hurt people with short blades so much, then I will fulfill you and arrange a happy ending for your life." Tenglin Qingtian was frightened and collapsed, and he blurted out and pleaded, "No. Please." As soon as the voice fell, he felt a sudden pain in his ankle and knee. With a crisp click, Tenglin Qingtian saw his calf bend forward from the knee. It turned out that Charlie completely broke his calf from his knee with one hand. He was tortured to collapse by the severe pain, opened his mouth and yelled hysterically, "Ah!" The next moment, his voice stopped abruptly. The short blade on the toe of his shoe had already pierced into his mouth at this time, and the bloody blade tip came out directly from the back of his neck. The moment Tenglin Qingtian pierced the sharp blade, he felt pain and numbness at the wound, and a sense of weakness spread from the wound to his whole body. The pain comes from the wound of a sharp blade, the sense of powerlessness originates from the poison on the blade. He was already unable to breathe, his face became more and more bruised, staring at Charlie with an expression of horror, and sobbing in his mouth. Charlie looked at him and asked with interest, "Did you follow me first? How did I do it?" Tenglin Qingtian nodded desperately. He didn't want to understand until he was on the verge of dying, why Charlie had such a strong strength, why he could hide everything in front of him in an instant, and why he could make his two-handed sword deviate from the original trajectory. Charlie smiled slightly at this time and said, "Did you learn physics when you were a child? The transmission of sound depends on vibration. As long as you can control vibration, you can control any sound. No matter how sensitive your ears are, you won't feel it." Tenglin Qingtian's eyes were full of shock. Sound transmission depends on vibration, he knows this, but how can people control the vibration of sound? Immediately, he looked at Charlie with eager eyes, making a ah sound in his mouth. Charlie smiled and asked, "Do you want to ask, how did I make your two swords deviate?" Tenglin Qingtian nodded uncontrollably. Charlie smiled indifferently, "This is the same principle as how I control the vibration, but this ability is a profound heritage, far from your ninjutsu, so you don't think too much, go on the road." Tenglin Qingtian's expression was full of shock and regret. What is shocking is that this man actually has such an inheritance of heavenly skills. Regrettably, he has come to an end in this life, and it is impossible to learn such a heavenly skill. At this moment, Tenglin Qingtian's face had begun to turn black and purple, and his eyes were staring, almost shooting out of his eye sockets. And his whole person couldn't stop convulsing suddenly, and his whole person was shaking violently. The reason for this is also because he himself smeared cyanide on his short blade. This highly toxic substance killed him very quickly and in a tragic manner. This state continued for about 10 seconds, and Tenglin Qingtian lost his vitality and turned into a stiff corpse. Charlie didn't have any sympathy for the tragic death of Tenglin Qingtian. This man carried so many poisonous weapons with him. God knows how many people he killed with these weapons before. Now, it is best for him to let him eat the consequences. In other words, this is also his best destination. Otherwise, if the crime is in the hands of other enemies someday, you may not even be able to keep a whole body. At this moment, there was a short and slight vibration in Tenglin Qingtian's pocket. If it weren't for Charlie's extremely keen senses, it would be impossible to detect it. Astonished, he reached out to touch the inner pocket of Tenglin Qingtian's shirt, and he found a mobile phone. This mobile phone seems to have specially modified the vibration motor, which greatly shortens the period of vibration and greatly reduces the force of vibration. It is estimated that it is to prevent the mobile phone from revealing its whereabouts when it is hidden. At this time, a message was displayed on the screen of the phone. After Charlie unlocked the phone with Tenglin Qingtian's finger, he saw a text message with the title Tenglin. The text message contained only 2 numbers, 07. Charlie couldn't help frowning, scrolling up the text messages of the 2 and found that they were all communicating with 2 digits. Tenglin sent a 03, and Tenglin Qingtian responded with an 11. Charlie speculated that this should be some kind of agreed code between them. Only they themselves know what the different numbers mean, so that they can realize basic communication encryption. Even if he has Tenglin Qingtian's mobile phone, there is no idea what the 2 are passing on. However, Charlie felt that the 07 sent by Tenglin should really mean to ask Tenglin Qingtian about his situation. Thinking of this, he gently bends the phone with both hands, and when the phone is powered off, he put the phone back into Tenglin Qingtian's pocket. Immediately afterwards, he took out his mobile phone and called Isak. As soon as the phone was connected, he ordered, "Old man, let your hands prepare a light refrigerated car, and then drive to the park on the outskirts of the river." Isak asked in surprise, "Master, what do you want to freeze the car for?" Charlie said lightly, "A big popsicle of personal flesh." When Isak heard this, he immediately became nervous, and blurted out, "Master, have you been attacked? Are you okay?" "Of course okay." Charlie said, "You quickly do as I told you to find a car first, and I will send you the address in a moment." "Okay, master." At this moment, inside a hotel in downtown Nagoya, Tenglin was about to install a bug in Charlie's room. Just to be cautious, he sent Tenglin Qingtian a message to ask him about his tracking, such as where Charlie went and how long it will take to return. If Charlie can't come back for a while, then he can safely sneak into his room. However, when the message was sent, Tenglin Qingtian never responded, which made him feel a little uneasy. The other 2 juniors were also in his room. Seeing Tenglin Qingtian not responding to messages, everyone looked a little worried. The 4 of them have worked closely for so many years and are very familiar with each other. There is no lag in the communication between them under any circumstances. The information is basically returned within seconds, and there has never been a situation where there is no reply for a few minutes. Tenglin couldn't help muttering, could it be that Qingtian was discovered by the other party? The second junior brother said, "No, senior brother. The fourth child has the strongest concealment ability. If he gets serious, the three of us together may not be able to find him. How can the subject detect his trace? Tenglin waved his hand and said solemnly, Qingtian hasn't responded to the message for so long. This is obviously very abnormal. Therefore, it is no longer meaningful to discuss his strength. The key is to find him. Thinking of this, he hurriedly sent another message to Tenglin Qingtian. The content of this message was the number 10, which means 100,000 in a hurry, and he responded quickly. However, when the message was sent, it still fell to the ground. He waited anxiously for another minute, but there was still no response. The expressions of all three people became very ugly. The third junior brother couldn't sit still, and stood up and said, Big brother, go out and look for it. Looking for? Tenglin smacked his lips, where to find? Qingtian has not communicated with us since he separated from us, we don't even know which direction to choose when we leave the hotel. The second younger brother blurted out, what if there is an accident with Qingtian? Tenglin said with a black face, I think with Qingtian's strength, even if it is discovered by the opponent, he can still fight. It may not really be an accident. Maybe it has already started with the opponent. After that, he blurted out, Second, give Qingtian a call. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.